Even if your care provider happens to be of the more natural minded and is willing to let you lead and take their hands off things, you still have to be aware of their limitations. There may be insurance issues that come up because they have to carry insurance, and the insurance companies may have restrictions on how they're allowed to practice, which then, if you're declining a test or an intervention or a routine procedure, then the insurance companies are like, well, wait a minute, we're going to up your premiums. Or maybe it's that they happen to be practicing in a hospital that is very medical minded, in which case, if you are having a home birth, this isn't a problem because they can't really see what's going on. Except that if you call them too early in labor, which is what happened to me, they then have to call the hospital and say that a home birth is taking place, which then still puts you on the clock. So, what happened with me is that I called my midwife to the house. She assessed my progress. I was at almost 6 centimeters, and she had called the hospital to tell them. And because of the fact that she was under this organization, this governing body of how she's allowed to practice, and she'd been newly certified, it had only been 3 years, she then had to keep reporting the progress, except I wasn't progressing. And because I wasn't progressing 1 centimeter per hour as I was supposed to, there came a point where she needed to ask me again to consent to another cervix check to see where I was at. Now, I didn't want this. However, I could also kind of sense like she needed to know. And against my better judgment, I allowed this. It was incredibly painful. It was traumatic. It was probably the worst part of my labor. And what happened is that my labor ended up stalling out. And she said, okay, now labor has completely stopped. And we have two choices here. I can call the hospital and say that this was a false start and go home, or we can keep going like we are, and I'll have to assess you again in 4 hours. And if you're not any further along, then I'm going to have to transfer you. We'll have to consult with an OB. They'll probably tell me that you need to transfer. They're going to want to break your waters and get things moving because you've been in labor for over 24 hours now. And like things need to be moving because you're a second time mom. Maybe there's a problem. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's no effing way that that is happening.